Okay, so this is one more Ampeg Reverb Rocket, just like the other ones. Checked it out, made it all nice and pretty, cleaned up the baseboard, got all the matching knobs and everything. I'll turn that off. Original foot switch. This amp is pretty much as original as it's gonna get. The power tubes and just the tube setup in general in this one is a 7591. You got a pair of those for the output section, and then you just have conventional 12AX7, 6U10, and another 12AX7. And something a little special you got in this one is actually a, oh, that's upside down, but it's a Utah speaker. It's a ceramic. A lot of people will argue whether or not that is actually the original speaker. Ampeg were always fiddling with their amps and doing this and that and all sorts of stuff with it, and they were always swapping out speakers, changing power tube configurations, lots of stuff like that. And so, you know, some of them came with it. Who's to say that this actual Ampeg was very originally from the factory fitted with a Utah speaker? We'll never know. But it's a good speaker. It's ceramic. It's about as old as the amp, I would imagine. Sounds good and strong. It's really, really punchy. That's the thing I always liked about these amps, is that, you know, you have your Fenders and they're pretty smooth and they can get kind of boisterous, and you have the Marshalls, which are really punchy and everything. But I always kind of looked at this as more of a, I don't know, I guess you could say like a hot-rodded Fender. And my point is, the ceramic speaker actually really plays to that a lot, and it gets really punchy. I know that when I was playing there, the camera was washing out, but that was really just to show that the reverb and tremolo worked, and you could crank the thing without any sort of microphonic issues. I'm literally sitting, you know, that far away from the amp, sitting here, you know, playing my guitar, and it's not feeding back. I'm sitting right in front of the speaker. You know, I had it, you know, almost all the way up to get it to break up and everything, and it wasn't feeding back, and it was stable. So you know, that just speaks to you know, the capacitors and the power section and everything was working fine. And honestly, I can't personally say for this one. I haven't opened it up, but you know, there's a lot of people who say, well, are the power conditioning and filter caps original, or are the power tube cathode caps original, or are the resistors original? Well, you know, probably not. 9 times out of the 10, they're usually swapped out because they wear out. You know, the oil and paper, they dry out and they flake and they start to drift away from their values. But here's the thing, and this is with all the amps that I'm gonna put up. You know, it sounds good and you can crank it, and it sounds fine when you do that. I mean, what more do you really want? We could sit here and we could always talk about, oh, well, you know, the power caps are this or that, or they're bad, or they need replacing, or, oh, they're not the original ones, or there's some Nichian or, you know, Japanese or Taiwanese crap. But, you know, it's running fine, and it looks good. I mean, what more do you really want out of a vintage amp? You know, you can play it. It's not going to need any work or anything. Really, the sound and the tone is great. If you want to start swapping out the speakers and the tubes and everything, go right ahead. But as it stands right now, this amp really doesn't need anything else to be played and to be played loudly. I mean, I don't think I have much else to say for it. I mean, it all functions fine. You know, and the amp, I mean, it'll thank you for it when you play it loudly. So, like I said, it's Ampeg Reverberocket. It's got the original pedal, the foot switch on it. Utah speaker in the back. Big old ceramic thing. Really punchy amp. 7591s, 6U10 rectifier. Which I think for this amp I will probably throw in a 6U10. A note on that though, if you go to tubedepot.com, they sell a lot of miscellaneous tubes, and you can get a 6U10 I think for about $8 or $9. It might be used, but I mean, like I said, the rectifier tubes in this amp, I mean, they're more or less original and they've lasted this long. So the power tubes, I know JJ make a set of 7591s, but beware of the Sovtex. The Sovtex 7591s, I know you actually need to mod the amp in order to play it, and the 7591s from Sovtek are more akin to the setup of the 6L6, and they sound like the 6L6. So if you buy this amp, it's 7591s, and you either want to buy, you know, old vintage tubes or the JJ 7591s. And you can get those anywhere. I like Doug's tubes personally. I'm not sure if they have the 7591s, but Tube Depot I know definitely has that, and they have the 6U10 rectifier tube. And then 12AX7s are, you know, a dime a dozen. So yeah, like I said, happy bidding or happy buying or whatever you guys like. Yeah, Ampeg Reverberocket.